Hey, welcome to the Startup Voyage podcast. Today we are joined by Kevin Bilal, CEO of Defisports, a Web3 sports company, where they've built a decentralized finance marketplace aimed to bring sports and blockchain technology together. The platform itself allows users to buy, sell, and trade NFTs related to sports such as collectible cards, game items, memorabilia. NFT marketplace is built on the Ethereum blockchain, uses smart contracts to ensure transparency, and even offers staking in rare opportunities. So welcome to the show, Kevin. Thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you. Thank you, Arthur, for giving us the opportunity to be here today to talk more about DeFi Sport, to talk more about Sports 3.0, and of course, whatever we have built, our marketplace, and yeah, a lot to discuss today.
Great. Well, look, we've gone through another cycle of this crypto winter. You and I have, when we first met, we were talking about how last year was such a huge change in the market, and for sure, everyone is now shifting their eyes on what everyone was talking about for many years, and it's basically digitizing real-world assets. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the show, because for sure that is the direction in which everyone is expected to move towards. And yes, in your space yourself, I'd like to understand a little bit more about the founders of DeFi Sports. I know you guys been around for a couple of years, started through an ICO. Tell me a little bit more about, the journey for you guys in having to navigate this turbulent market and where you are today.
Right. I mean, that's a really good question. I think, when it comes to us, how the team basically formed like 3 years ago, and how did I get to meet my partners that are actually founders today at DeFi Sport. It has been a very interesting journey, but I think we have to really give credits to, the rest of the guys, how they bonded with me together in 2020. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this, but I met all of them in a project. Basically, that's where I met my team, and that's how we basically got to know each other. But they were just investors, and I was a community manager in a project, and I was very vocal with my voice, and I used to attend all these different voice chats. Twitter Space was not, it did not exist back in the days. So Telegram AMAs, and people will just hang out in AMAs from different part of the world, and that's how I met most of my partners. And fast forward today, we have key people in the team. One of my partners is a French. He had to quit his job at KPMG, where he was actually working, for a Big Four, and he had to quit his job, his full-time job in Paris, to basically dedicate his time, his passion for DeFi Sport, for the startup, for the vision that we have. And same goes for the rest of the guys. We were a big team in the beginning. We were a team of 7. And but with this crypto winter that and this cycle that we're in right now, it's not easy to basically manage everyone's position financially. So some had to leave because they have family to take care, they have their own responsibilities. They had to leave in good manners. We did not burn any bridges. We in fact, they're still here as holders and being part of the community. But yes, the official the team that we have right now is approximately 4 founders that are working full time, not paid. We are just working for the passion and for the vision that we have at DeFi Sports.
Okay, so you had mentioned back in the days where like these Twitter Spaces, or Twitter in itself was growing, Telegram was growing to support crypto, blockchain, Web3 space, however you call it. When we look at how we try to, or when your company positions themselves to the market, there's a term people use nowadays with marketing where it's Web3 native marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, how do you see that? Because, we've evolved from a Web2 space many years, and now we're saying Web3 native. What does Web3 native marketing mean to you?
I mean, if the same question was asked in a bull run, I would have said, okay, Web3 marketing is doing everything. Just do whatever it takes to basically do marketing. But when it comes to crypto winter, it's tough. Even if we're doing Web3 native marketing, I think the engagement and the traffic that you can basically attract towards let's say DeFi sport. Web3 marketing is basically practically, I will say, using whatever that was everyone using in bull run. I specifically don't like to target those genres in when it comes to native marketing in web3, but let's say influencers, KOLs, targeting sports celebrities, targeting celebrities in general, getting the attraction and exposure. Oh, you see, oh, this celebrity is backing this project, okay, that project is going to do good. So I think the real challenge when it comes to native crypto marketing in web3 today is how are you re-educating the people. I think the term re-educating is really lacking in many ways. One, everyone knows blockchain. If we're targeting the same people to get into let's say DeFi sport, then how do we re-educate them why DeFi sport has a purpose and they have to be part of our community or part of our establishment that we have basically built 3 years ago. So I think re-education is a key when it comes to Web3 native marketing in today's cycle with today's the way crypto economy is and how it's actually going so far.
Okay, thanks for that. Well, I recall you guys had just recently completed an auction for one of those jerseys that you're showing in the back, right? The Arsenal jerseys. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit more about that, and I know how it went.
So we had a very successful first, auction event on DeFi Sport Marketplace. We wanted to basically do that for a good cause to support a charity at the choice of our, backer that basically, gave us the access to the this physical collectible, which is signed by every Arsenal player. So it was a very successful event. It took us 3 months in preparation and planning. Why did it took us 3 months? One, timing was not right. We received the jersey in May. June, July was slow month because of summer. A lot of people are on vacation. A lot of people may not necessarily be tapping into the right network that we were basically doing our marketing for. And so we had to wait. We had to really time. And one key thing that we actually learned in the last 3 years is patience. You really need to have patience. You can't just rush the process. Even if you see there's hype, even if you observe that this is the time to basically kick in FOMO, we just decided it's best practice if we want to basically sustain our economic model, what we truly believe in, which is our NFT e-commerce marketplace, then it's better that we just take our time. Even if it's going to take 3 months, doesn't matter. The most important thing is the execution. So we executed this on 28th of August. We had a very successful auction event for 2 days. The highest bidder basically walked away with this jersey for 1 ETH, and this is going to be displayed at a government hospital in Bangkok. So it itself is supporting a charity, going to a charitable place, and it's going to further inspire the young children or even the families that are going to be basically getting the chance to see this on display. It will just inspire them. So the new owner who wants to remain anonymous, but at the same time he wants to cherish this moment for young kids. He just wants to continue to do this as much as possible to show the young generation that there is hope, that there is that there is a potential in future. Just a resource for inspiring one and another. So we're very happy with that. When am I going to deliver this? I know I'm still presenting it in this podcast, but next week this is going to be gone. I'm personally going to deliver this. Since it's our first auction event and we want to hand deliver, get that practical expression. We want to see how his face will be filled with joy when he sees an Arsenal jersey that's signed by every single player. And that's the fan engagement that we truly believe and cherish him.
Sure, sure. So give us an idea. When you're shipping this, you just throw it in a box and that's it?
Yeah, so well, I mean, we have our warehouse and manufacturing base in Netherlands. So everything that we do when it comes to merchandise or manufacturing or even designing all these collectibles and boxes, I'm still waiting for the box to arrive. But the box itself is also a collectible. So it's a collectible from DeFi Sport. So whether you choose to collect it or not, but then the box itself also has its own identity. We want to cherish that first ever auction item that was shipped out. It has to go with a unique message, and that box itself is the message that will represent the jersey.
That sounds cool. And of course, a certification that comes with it as well.
Correct.
Um, all right. Any specific comments from the community when this auction went live and when it closed? I mean, anything notable from the community?
Yes, 100%. So, from our community, they have been expecting this for over a year now, since we have basically been developing and building our NFT e-commerce, marketplace, the platform itself, for the last 1.5 year. So they have been expecting. They didn't know that we were gonna do Arsenal. They were
Hmm.
expecting that we're gonna basically do something with our own merchandise, probably one of our cap, or we're just gonna do digital NFTs for one of our co-signed ambassador. Little did they expected that the first ever auction item will be for a big club, an Arsenal
Right.
football club, and they were very excited. But one of them actually was late to the auction event, and he missed out, and he was basically he was basically trying to give us an indirect message that, can you please tell the new owner to rebid to replace the trade again on the marketplace, because he wants to bid for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but what we support is transparency. What we support is security of our platform, first come first serve base. When the price is set, it is there. We can't change it. We cannot replace it. We cannot do favors for anyone. It is a fair and transparent marketplace, so it is gone. I'm sorry, but you will have to wait for the next one in the future.
So that poses the next question: what's next, Kevin? Or are you not allowed to say anything yet?
I mean, I can, since we have already been shilling it, like low key shilling it. The next event is gonna be for Chelsea, so we're gonna be doing a auction event for Chelsea, and also doing rare NFTs, digital static NFTs for these athletes that are playing for Chelsea, and our ambassadors of Defisport. Their first digital collectibles are gonna be out, and I can speak a little in details about these digital NFTs. How are they different from all these digital NFTs that already coexist in the space? One, for our NFTs, the rare ones are only five, so
Mm.
only five are going to be coming out, and these are the ultimate tier. So we're doing it similarly with how you open a pack, and okay, I'm pretty sure, like, in the Web 2 way, like, I'm a fan as well. What we used to do back in the days, we used to buy these cards in a pack from supermarket, not knowing what's going to be inside. So you open it. If you're lucky, you get the rare one. If you're not lucky, you're going to basically get the normal one. So we want to do a bit differently. We want to start with just five rare, showing that these are the rare ones. And each of them comes with its own, a unique selling point. So one, if you basically get to own the one of the five ones, you may get a chance to basically FaceTime that athlete, speak with him, ask him whatever question you have, your 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If he gets engaged, and you basically invite him and say, since I'm speaking with you on this FaceTime, if you're free, can we play FIFA? Let's play esports FIFA. So you have that opportunity, that window, as an engagement. But apart from that, I don't think I'm going to leak too much information. Leave that for marketing purposes, so that we can we can build up some hype for it. But that's going to be in the
Sure.
near future. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I remember opening up sport packs myself and having to almost buy a whole box, just trying to get a complete set. This is back when they had bubble gum inside the card packs,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so frustrating, right?
Yeah.
The reality is, had I known which ones are more rare, I would actually just pay extra for it, guaranteed that I would get it, rather than getting disappointed pack
Right.
after pack after pack. It's yeah.
And when you grow up, your mom probably threw it away when you're cluttering your room. So that's also one of
No.
the sad story. It happened to many people, that they end up losing all their cards, and later realizing the value of these cards are like really high now and in demand. Yep.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I was not one of those people because I had older brothers who collected comic books and cards, trading cards, and then we packaged them in like plastic baggies and whatnot. So I still have mine, pretty good condition.
Wow.
Not too
Wow.
bad, not too bad. Yeah.
Not too bad. Yeah.
But anyways, okay, let's go back into like the whole trend of real world assets. There's a load of projects now coming into the space. Let's talk about your business in itself. I know it's not only sports memorabilia, but if we look at accessibility, something like the jersey itself, you would have normal auctions in the past, but you would have to outright outbid the next person in order to own it, right? So tell me how, through blockchain, accessibility to the fans is different now going forward on your platform.
Absolutely. That's a very good question. So, one, if we look back at how traditionally such items are sourced out, they're sourced out through auction houses. Now, auction houses is not for everyone. It's for the right network, or it is for basically people with deep pocket. That's where you basically get to outbid the bidder. And number two, there are a lot of different type of fees set once you basically gave up your real, let's say, collectible. It is no longer in your control in terms of ownership. The ownership is now given to the auction house, where then they will basically set up the whole program for it, the campaign for it, or even the auction event for it. So it is not in favor for global fans base. What we have basically done and built in the last 2 years as our first product, since we're a tech company, we're very product oriented. Our first product is an NFT e-commerce marketplace that allows any fan around the world to use blockchain to have an access to basically bid, directly buy, or even offer give an offer to that collectible item through our marketplace. Now, the great thing about this, one, we are focusing on creating our own supply chain book. It will make it easier for fans in the future, for the future generation, if they're going to basically track, source any collectible item, whether it's really vintage or a memorabilia or a merchandise or whatever it is. It will be trackable, tradable, and most importantly, it will be transparent and available to basically source it out on the blockchain. So having and giving its own digital identity to it, it will basically help and affect the supply chain. So for us, this is really important, how to keep a product relevant, such as the other day when I was actually speaking with you, a 1952 Mickey Mantle baseball card, which is the most expensive baseball card sold ever. How do we keep that relevant by 2050? Right? Because the future younger generations are just going to be catching the future trends. They may not necessarily look back into 1950s, what was the most, I'll say, lucrative baseball card that is today very expensive. Will it be relevant by 2050 or 2070? So we're tapping into the future, how to basically keep all these consciousness, these memorabilia, these collectibles, these trading items, accessibilities, whatever it is, available on the blockchain and, for various purposes. And the other thing that I always, end up, speaking about, of course, when we talk about blockchain, we also talk about instant transactions. We also talk about replacing fiat system. We also talk about how, you from one wallet to another wallet, and a communication and transaction can be done. And I can store the data with it through my wallet, which is also accessible and readable on the blockchain. So we're trying to solve a lot of, different challenges, but at the same time, we want to also maintain the supply chain book.
Okay. Well, going into basically the jersey itself. So once you own it, we already know back in old days that it's illiquid, right? You basically had to find a buyer, if you want to cash, and you lose the jersey forever. But
right
now it's changed, right? So talk about how it's created liquidity for the owner, and giving more options to leverage that asset without actually giving it up.
Absolutely. So for instance, let's use this as a very good practical example, since I have it over here. And so this is a jersey that is signed by 16, let's say, Arsenal players, and it comes with a certificate of authenticity. The market value for today, this jersey is approximately around 3,000 USD. Now, the value for this jersey will always stay and remain, stable. no matter even if we're in good times or bad times economically, the value itself for this jersey will be liquid, which means if I want to basically trade this item to cash out for 3K and sell it to another owner, it is very possible. But on the other hand, this valuable item, if I keep it for the next 5 years and I don't want to sell it, knowing that this is liquid, it will increase in value. And on the other hand, it has its data on the blockchain, where any future gunner fan, diehard fan that is sourcing out the player jersey of 2023 and know that there's only one person that has a jersey signed by every single player, I want to basically tick it. So liquidity is already, I mean, the jersey itself already holds a value. That's really important. But the most important thing is it is relevant. Versus like how you just basically mentioned back in the days, you bought a jersey knowing that this jersey is basically signed. In America, what they do, they bring it back to pawn shop, right? And then the pawn shop basically invites some, an expert to come down, verify, to go through certain protocols to see if this is really the game worn jersey, the autograph jersey, and then he gives a practical value to it. But that's no longer the case. This is going to change. And this is going to change with non-fungible token. So having this as an NFT will basically allow investors or private collectors to leverage. Even if I want to trade this with someone who has a Barcelona jersey with signed by every single player and they're holding the same value, I can trade it. Since I'm now open to the whole world through blockchain, I have access to speak to anyone, or anyone has access to reach out to me if they want to basically get this item. So those are some of the things that we have done. But there's another thing that I want to add on top of this. We teamed up and partnered up with HypeX. HypeX is basically an all-in-one NFT infrastructure and protocol. So what they do to further even facilitate, holder who are holding an NFT. Let's say I'm holding a digital NFT that holds this physical NFT, but I want to actually share my, my experience and my fan engagement with other fans out there. How do I do that? Well, in the near future, we will be having this functionality available, fractionalizing the asset. So we will fractionalize digital NFTs into micro pieces that can be owned by small users as well. We know there are fans from East Asia, from Africa that may not have the capacity, that may not have the budget, but they're still diehard fans. So fractionalized NFT will also give them an access to hold a piece of, their memory that represent their favorite club.
Oh, that's awesome. So let me ask you then, because this is a physical item, how does all this then change when it comes to having the item insured, right? So for sure, you've got it's recorded on the blockchain. That kind of adds a different component to its authenticity. If it gets stolen, moved around, I would imagine the insurance industry would have to look at this differently,
right,
on items like this. What have you seen, or are you working with any agencies to solve this?
So in the beginning, this is a complete new technology that we are introducing, and so one, for any organization to basically start sourcing out their own collectibles. Maybe a private organization has always been in private collection for sports collectibles or memorabilia. We have to basically work very closely with them as one-on-one to ensure that the product is there, that they're not just selling let's say fake images or showing that this product is there. No. So we have to work with legitimate organizations that have always been doing, and now they want to catch up with the trend. They want to make sure that they want to be tapping into the future, where the younger generation, the future generations, are going to be using such methods of shopping collectibles and memorabilia. The second thing, if let's say we basically this goes to the new owner at the government hospital in Bangkok, and 5 years later he decides to basically auction this item and he wants to basically sell it to someone else. But what if the jersey is not there? This is where our platform basically comes in place. One, before you actually even get to mint or even get to retrade the item on display for sale, you have to go through a certain process. If that process is not passed, you cannot basically even get to mint or even get to display that item. So Physical NFTs can only be done through a legal way where they have to KYB, KYC, where we will have all their company documents, we will have all their product documents, where we are also involving sports investor authenticator that is currently a Web2 sports authenticator in America that has always been working with different, sports club, sports association, and even private, working with private collectors as well. So we will have to basically involve them for various reasons. But when it comes to insurance policy, and if we lose it, then we have to cover the insurance. But if the product is basically lost by the owner, then he or she will not be eligible to basically put that NFT on display. So that's one way we have to tackle. But in the future, what we strongly believe in is that we will the marketplace is facilitating current businesses to transition to Web3 by doing the same thing, because we will also be integrating fiat, so that they don't have to basically lose their way of how they used to work and how they used to do their business before versus how they will be doing in the near future.
Okay. Well, that's one thing to look at also for businesses coming into this space. What do you find to be one of the most difficult things to wrap their head around? Because it is, for some, when you think about just an example of the jersey and then turning it into NFT, for someone in the old world, it must be a little bit confusion. What do you see as like the big thing? Yeah.
I think it's one. I think it's really challenging when we speak to different. We haven't spoken to a lot of businesses, but let's say when it comes to businesses, I think the one challenge is when they hear the word crypto, they get scared. It's volatile, and they have heard, they've seen a lot of scams that has happened. So those were the earlier challenges that we saw. But I think traditionally with businesses that we have been speaking to this year, I think one key challenge that we face with them is lack of understanding about the infrastructure and technology that is backing whatever projects are doing. They may understand what is Bitcoin, but they may not understand what is running Bitcoin. What is the technology behind Bitcoin? How transactions are done? What are nodes for? So I think the technical background is somewhat lacking when it comes for them to fully equip their mind with it, because it's too advanced for them. What they were using before was not advanced, but this is a new subject that they have to really, tap into, spend their time. They may have to, end up doing one or two wrong transactions in order to understand how a right transaction can be done. And so, yeah, I think it's just complexity when it comes to understanding the technology and then the infrastructure. But I think once they understand, it should not be as difficult as it seems like.
Do you believe these traditional business should work with a blockchain consultancy to help them move into this space?
Definitely, I think so. In terms of let's say blockchain consultancy, I think they can offer various training programs where having demo sessions and explaining how you can do this and to get that. So I think a lot of it has to basically go back into re-educating them. It's not like you're completely moving your business from A to B. You're not doing that. You're just creating a different route for now, giving a new access and tapping into a new market. So now you have a new audience that you can tap into. So I think it's all about just re-guiding them and just re-educating them that you don't have to really completely shift your business. I think that is one key challenge that traditional companies face. The reason why I say this because I've been trying to speak. We are intern partners of City University. So I've been invited to City University a few times. We've spoken with them. They never understood blockchain before they even met me. Before they even met Defisports. For them, blockchain was a very advanced world where you really need to be a tech geek in order to tap into it, and in order to understand how it works. So I think it really comes down to having more practical sessions and demo sessions for them to basically understand the security side, because one, if you lose your seed phrase, if you lose your private keys, your wallet is gone. So those are some of all these basic, I think, information and segments have to basically go through and involve a lot of demo session, and that is why we're taking this, the Chelsea jersey, the Juventus jersey, to our first co-host event in Singapore on 11th of September at Marina Bay Sands, where we will be basically having a demo session and practically teaching, like, a different type of group of people on how to basically, scan the QR code, look into blockchain, what's the identity for this jersey, what's the value that is holding this jersey. So all this is involving us to basically educate the people.
Okay. Well, I guess as a use case, how does your business model then support new technologies such as AR and VR in the world of sports?
Oh wow, you asked me a very good question that brings us back to 2020. So if we go back to 2020, one of a really depressing year because of COVID, we saw the entire sports industry was in a bubble. The only sport that was actually still broadcasted live was Fight Island for UFC, because they booked out the entire island. The whole island was actually in a bubble, and that was the only sport everyone could actually enjoy, UFC. So back in the days in 2020, traditionally I used to play cricket for Hong Kong. I used to play for Hong Kong under 17, under 13, under 15. I used to skip school just to go and for training sessions, because I really believed it in what I was actually doing, because I was passionate. So in 2020, when we saw the whole stadium was in a bubble, no one was enjoying. And that was the first time when, in early 2021, me and the rest of the team, we were talking about how we can basically elevate if this actually get to happen again, a new pandemic in the future. So how can we, prevent such silence in the sports industry to happen ever again? So one, if you look into metaverse that is today, we actually somehow pioneered the idea of connecting three different technologies. That is metaverse for us. So one, if you already have successful AR companies that have already been doing AR with AR technology, then you have VR that has already been done traditionally by tech companies, and they're very successful technology. Then all you need is a streaming company. So you have Showtime, ESPN, you have Top Sport, you have all these different sports streaming companies. If you connect a stadium with 360-degree cameras that are all AR, and now I'm in a comfort of my seat and I just broadcast the game through the streaming company, now I am in the game while I'm in my comfort of my seat. This will help traditional stadiums and businesses to scale the ability of having more people, more participants in the game than having just 80,000 people in the stadium. Now you can actually scale it up to 500,000 people. You can remove pay-per-view. Now you can have direct people watching the game because of VR technology. So for us, when you combine all these three different technologies, that is how we saw what could potentially be open world, metaverse, and how, me being in the comfort of my seat can also enjoy the game, while the people in the stadium will not see me, but I can see them and I can see the game. So for us, that was metaverse. For us, that is what we want to do in the near future with our independent sports blockchain. It cannot be done. We cannot work with any other blockchains for various reasons. This is because we have tapped too much into the future. So when we think about the future and we come back to this very moment, we realize, okay, no, we can't do that. So we have to have patience. We have to wait, and by waiting, that technology, then it's only doable and solvable for the sports industry. And so that is what we truly believe in metaverse, not some 3D. I don't know. I don't want to go against any metaverse company, but that's how we saw it. And we did, in fact, spoke with Showtime about this.
Okay. So that's an interesting one, because I always think it's a very difficult thing to for the leagues and I guess licensing agreements to allow it to open it up to a larger audience in the manner that you just spoke about.
Yep.
So if it were to replace pay, whatever, one of the sports channels, like whatever it is, would they, I mean, allow it?
Well,
I understand. Yeah,
I mean, the only country that can do this right now is Saudi Arabia. I don't see
yeah.
anyone else. I think only them, because they're tapping into esports. They have tapped into sports.
Mm,
They are doing the Saudi Super Football League as well. So I think
yeah.
you're right about will they allow it? But I think in the future, if sports industry wanna be advanced with technology, then they will have to tap into blockchain. They will have to tap into all these different technologies that we've just basically discussed and mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine that one scenario would be if it was really decentralized and the fans themselves fed into a commercial model that fits sort of like the support of this type of environment, they might go for it, right? But at the
Right.
end of the day, I can imagine they still want to own the rights of licensing for a specific brand, a team, or how the distribution is on a country level and even to a global level, right? But yeah, I mean
Mm-hmm.
that'd be quite cool. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they used to have when AR first came about. I remember the first time I tried it. The example they had, the place I was at, was putting on the goggles, and then you were at a Coldplay concert, and it was a pretty cool experience. At least how it felt, right? It wasn't like just watching it on TV. It gave me a different feel. It kind of tapped into the different senses, because I was just in my room, but you
Exactly.
kind of you kind of feel like you're there,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah, that's
Right,
the physical feelings you get from VR. But I think
right.
VR is still very heavy. VR is still not very eye friendly.
Mm,
It can get really painful after using it for 30. Like I use Oculus 2, and I know Oculus 3 is coming out. I understand Apple is also tapping into VR. So let's see. I think we're too early. Maybe
mm,
I think when VR are just like glasses or
yeah.
as light as glasses, then I think it will be possible.
Google Glasses, wasn't that supposed to be their thing?
Not sure. I think Apple is really competing. I think you see, if we look into like how the big tech companies are already competing in the space of VR, then we do know that they do know that the future is going to be VR. That they know
Yeah,
that the younger generation are going to. There will be an economy within the VR space in the future.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've heard stories of some people getting sick from wearing those glasses for too long.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about the generation, uh, uh, the, the the generation has changed in which most everyone is like on their device like all the time,
Right.
playing games for so the coordination or the behavior of seeing fast things go on the screen, I guess is kind of built up, right? You kind of get used to it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's happening with I can also imagine with games like GTA 5 was a really good example, and now everyone is looking into GTA 6, and I'm certainly sure that GTA 6 is going to give that practical experience as well, of how the I mean for, like how we say, like we're millennials, we're building it for the future young generations, and for
Right.
the future inspiration. So that's the way we see it. Like that's how the
Mm.
future generations are. Like for us, we're computers. For them, it's going to be high advanced tech. And yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. Probably like how everyone's just going to have a set of like a special specs which they will use to use computer.
Mm. Yeah. I always should imagine if they built something like Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, it's actually like I'm getting my exercise. I'm running around the city. I'm grabbing something, and I'm like seeing
Yeah,
something.
exactly. One can only imagine that how gaming will be by 2030. Let's say just by 2030, which is like what 7 years from now.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, won't you tell me a little bit about EcoTrack?
Oh, that's a very important use case for our vision and mission of DeFi Sport. So if we look at EcoTrack, the first ever individual in the sports industry that we ever spoke to was Samuel Ito, who is now he is the chairman of Cameroon Sports Football Federation as well. He manages, youth clubs as well in Africa and Cameroon. And so that was the first, ever use case that we discussed to him for a few reasons. One, if we look into how, young athletes are scouted today by sports agents from all around the world, it is done in a very traditional and very, centralized slash political way. But then there are many young talent out there in East Asia and Africa that may be limited to financial infrastructure. One, they may not be able to necessarily fund themselves to continue support themselves to go for training, go for different camps in their region. So how can we improve the overall idea of sourcing and scouting future young talents in the near future, since now there are variations and diversified into different clubs around the world? It's no longer just about playing for the big league. Now there are different domestic leagues as well. So EcoTrack is like a library where every data of young athlete or individual from Africa, from Cambodia, from Malaysia, from anywhere around the world will be basically available in a block. This block is going to be tradable. So people like you, Arthur, people like me, people like our friends, if they want to basically tap into the next future, young talent, and they want to be early in tapping into that young talent, they will be able to basically invest in that block by doing their due diligence and of course studying their whole data. So the whole data is going to be in a block. So even if you invest $10, $100, or $1,000 because you believe in this young talent, that this young talent is going to go somewhere in the near future, whether it's going to play in Asia or whether it's going to go play for a big club, this way it's more decentralized. There's less political agenda involved, because if you look into Africa today or if you look into East Asia today, I'm more close to using a practical example of Pakistan. Let's say use Pakistan. We have great young talent in Pakistan that play cricket, but not every one of them will get the chance to go and scale up their career to go and play for a bigger club. One, maybe someone else is coming from a good family. His family will basically do whatever it takes for his recommendation to go forward. But then the player who was actually even a much better player than the player who comes from a wealthy family, he may not get the right chances because there was a centralized figure involved that did not allow him to level up his career and to go for the choice of his club that he wants to play for. This needs to be avoided. This needs to be removed. We believe strongly in every young athlete has a dream that he works hard for to achieve and to become a professional athlete. So tapping into that and further facilitating for any sports agents or club from anywhere around the world will be easier for them to source and scout the next young talent, because now everything is traded in a block. You don't have to travel down to Africa to go and speak to these federations or these schools to go and look for that young talent into that village or whatever. That will basically be avoided. It's basically a library for the future young talent that's going to be available for various purposes, but it will only come with our sports blockchain. It cannot be developed without our own independent DeFi sports blockchain.
Yeah, I know that the sports in the U.S. Start very early. In fact, in a sport like basketball, they start looking at talent, young talent, going into like 6th to 9th grade. Right. I mean, even before high school. And with that, a lot of these guys that get moved forward to play in the I guess the paid club sport channels, they actually have to know someone or have the money, right? The resources to actually join. At the end of the day, it is who's going to back you, right? So like you said, it's very centralized. It's very political. If someone wants to put you in the spotlight to be seen by the scouts, they will make a play. That's why there's all these, I'm pretty sure backdoor deals that happen that you just never see, sponsorships, so on and so forth, that they've been trying to stop to kind of grow this young talent in the wrong way, right? So you really never identify the real talent. It's just that the ones that get nurtured are the ones that get right. So
absolutely. And that's also where smart contracts comes in handy. Each block represents a contract, which is a smart contract now on a blockchain. so it makes it a lot more, accessible for anyone, and also
Mm.
for fans to tap into to these young talents, as as a fan economy. So this is one of the reason why we strongly believe in EcoTrack. And the first, if we have to make it a legal tender anywhere around the world, it will be Africa. We want to
Mm.
start off with Africa. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I think we can wrap up the podcast from here on out. I do want to ask you one last question, and it's just more about the crypto market, where it's at, and what do you think will change in the next 3 to 6 months? What do you think will be different?
Wow, I think we have been in the longest crypto winter market for a really long time. I'm going to Token 2049 Singapore. I'm going to really see how the overall mood and the atmosphere is. A lot of people are still at Korean Blockchain Week, and they're going to be traveling down to Token 2049. But the way I actually see it, we are not in the right. I think in the right state economically, due to political tension. There's so much political tension around the world. We have upcoming elections next year for US.
Mhm.
We have upcoming elections happening in India, in Pakistan, in different places around the world. So I think, are we politically stable? I don't think we are. And are we economically stable? I don't think we are. So it's tough. It's really tough. It's really hard to say. I think the this is I mean it's really hard to give an accurate answer, but because before I even got into crypto, I was from financial market. I used to
Yeah.
be an equity trader, so I'm a fundamentalist, so I have to do a lot of macro studying. And that is why whenever someone actually asks, a bull run is happening next week, and I understand Bitcoin halving, it's a really bullish sentiment, but politically, are we in the right stage? And I don't
Yeah.
think we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that people seem to forget, is when you look at the macro level, regardless if you're looking at blockchain or traditional markets. I mean, at the end of the day, money's money, right?
Right.
Where are people going to put their value in which markets that's going to really grow? And if
Hmm.
it sucks right now overall, I think that's a sentiment, right? Like,
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm really afraid for the fact that if Democrats gets to, I'm not a political person, I want to clear that.
sure,
But if
okay,
Democrats basically gets to win again, I think we're going to face another tough 4 years. That's how I
yeah,
see it. Yeah. It's going to be
yeah.
really tough. Yeah.
I'll quote you on that. I'll put you on record.
Yeah, but it is part of our due diligence. We have to do this for our own sake, just to know that
Of course.
yeah, it's gonna be tough. It is tough for startups, but I think it's gonna get even tougher if things are not positive next year.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Well, enjoy Token 2049, and good luck with you. And yeah, I'll catch up with you in maybe 6 to 8 months and see what's going on with
Thank you.
DeFi Sports. Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity, Arthur, and yeah, look forward to speaking to you soon.
Hey, so that concludes this episode of the Startup Voyage podcast. I would like to thank all of you for listening to this episode, and I'd really appreciate it if you leave any type of comments that you'd like to share, because it helps to feedback on how I deliver these podcasts, and I definitely want to improve it to continue to add more value to the audience. Now, you can follow us on many of the popular podcast channels: Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Equally, I'm going to be uploading all of these episodes onto YouTube. So it's more than just audio, it's video. You can see everyone's faces. Look, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I'm always open to new ideas or looking for new guests. So if you know anyone in the space of Web3 that is an influencer or leader or someone who's really trying to shape what Web3 will be in the future, I'd love to hear from them. All right. So yeah, just comment below. You can DM me. I have all my information in the details underneath this podcast episode. So yeah, thank you for joining me today, and have a great one. See you in the next episode.